I don't need you to say anything. All of that matters, for communication takes many forms. It takes many shapes. And I can sit back and you don't have to say a word, and you not saying a word communicates things to me. I've said that over and over again. And so that's how I assess Bryan. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at how he's walking. I'm looking at how he's smiling. He's not smiling. How his eyes are looking and or darting from this to that. You know what I mean? How he's responding to what people are saying in the courtroom, or how he's not responding. Like, is he sitting there relaxed, or is he sitting there tensed? And if he's sitting there relaxed, is it because he has a callous attitude and he's a cold-hearted killer and he doesn't care? Or is he sitting there relaxed because he's resigned to the fact that, hey, me sitting here all tense ain't gonna change nothing anyway? And if he's sitting there tense, is it because he's nervous, thinking that they finally found out something that can absolutely tie him to these crimes? Or is he sitting there tense because, hey man, you know what, no matter what they find, even if they find that I'm innocent, they very well still may convict me of these crimes? Nothing absolutely means anything unless you can factually point to something. And in most of these situations and these, you know, conclusions that we're drawing, we can't factually point to anything. We're all just drawing opinions here. Innocent until it's been a while since I last. How y'all doing, man? It's Sunday, man. 5:29 in Miami, Florida. I got 14 miles to empty. I need to stop and get some gas, man. I've been relaxing, chilling. Didn't leave the house yesterday, man. 86 degrees in Miami, Florida, man. It's almost sunset. How y'all doing? Probably already asked that. I made a video about Dylan. Did you guys see the news break? I seen it on the Daily Mail about Dylan going to a Halloween party, flicking it up with some friends and stuff. You know, I guess I'm going to say this, but I don't like saying it. I'm going to say it anyway. Let me know if y'all want that video. It's like 10 minutes, man. I was giving my thoughts on it. I'll leave that there. But yeah, did you see that? Did you see the news about, Dylan being at the house party? And I don't know if it was a house party, but a Halloween party. And, people are, snap some flicks and stuff of her. Hey, man, I'm on this Bryan thing, bro. I can't really follow the rabbit holes. I say this all of the time that others are following. I just have to stick to the facts, man. That's just who I am. I'm a very anal person. I'm black and white. I go where the facts lead me. Now, obviously, if you watch my content, I do speculate. I would like to say I speculate within the bounds of reason. You know what I mean? I don't act like I know things that I don't know because they fit my narrative or what I want to believe. You know what I mean? I explore all possibilities. I'm reminded that, of the whole TikToker who accused the professor of being involved because, what was it, they were having an affair or something with one of the victims or roommates or something. Like, I explore everything, but I always cap it off with saying, man, I don't know any of this is true, and I go where my mind takes me. And my mind today has taken me to Bryan, man, and his stoic nature, man, his demeanor, his body language, his persona, his person, as it pertains to his guilt or innocence. Now, obviously, we don't know this young man. Aaron made a wonderful comment on Twitter, and I said, yo, man, for me, it is so very attractive, man, to see a woman using her brain. Now, let me put some context and clarity on that. As I know it, Erin is a married woman, so I wasn't saying that to flirt with her or disrespect her relationship and marriage or anything. I hold marriage in the utmost regard. It belongs to God. You know what I mean? I don't want to dishonor that. But I was just reflecting on, like, when I read her comment, she said, we don't know enough about Bryan to determine what his behavior means. And I'm butchering it a little there, but that's definitely, the context of what she said. And I like that because I had asked the question, what does Bryan's behavior tell us about us? Is he a maniac or a deer caught in the headlights? You know what I mean? He can't be himself because of the accusations, so, but her response was, something along the lines of, we don't know enough about him to accurately assess what his behavior means. And to me, she was much more articulate with it, but to me, that was the beginning and the end of the discussion for that question that I had asked. But I still want to explore the question a little bit, man. I want to reiterate that I 1000% agree with Aaron. We don't know enough about this man to determine what his behavior means, but we can read things and without decisively saying either or, and that's kind of what I want to do in this video. And then I posed the question on YouTube, and I think it was Lisa, but forgive me if I'm wrong. One of the young ladies of the commenter said, hey, I did, because I was saying that I don't see a lot of emotion in Bryan, but she reminded me that, like, if we go back and look at the stop with him and his dad pre-arrest, there was some things there to see. And before I just started this video and turned it on, that's what I did. I went back and looked at that video because I thought that was very accurate contextually. I think to see Bryan before he was arrested versus after he was arrested and compare and contrast the two is a wise thing to do. So I did go back and I started to look at this video. I'm actually in traffic right now, headed somewhere, which is probably where I will finish the video. I'm just gonna make half of it here. But I can tell you my first thoughts about that video with Bryan being stopped with his father. This has nothing to do with internet chatter and internet opinions. This more so has to do with my personal life experience of dealing with cops on any interactions I've had with them, and also in policing the police, man. That stop with his father, because I didn't go back and look at the one where he was alone. The stop with his father, I got into it about 2 or 3 minutes where Bryan and his dad were explaining that there was a shooting or something that occurred and the cop was saying he didn't know anything about it. That definitely wasn't a regular traffic stop. Now I know creators and, you know, law enforcement officers, et cetera, have gone over and over and over this. I don't know if, you know, law enforcement admitted that that was a pre-planned and set up stop, but I'm just looking at it and I'm telling you, man, I do this, man. I wish I could emphasize it, but I won't, you know what I mean, for brevity's sake. But, man, I do this, man. When cops stop you, unless they're suspecting you or something, they ask those same asinine questions, man. Where you going, where you coming from, et cetera, that have nothing to do with nothing. And then they get to the traffic stop, unless they have an ulterior motive for stopping you. I am absolutely convinced, without knowing, that was way more than just a regular traffic stop. That was definitely pre-planned. The cop was definitely fishing. And Bryan and his dad definitely gave up more information than they had to. Now, sidebar, man, you don't have to, you're not legally obligated, morally obligated, any type of obligation to answer any questions when cops stop you. The Fifth Amendment, you don't have to speak to cops. They stop you, they need your license, they need your registration, they need your insurance, whatever your state laws require. Now, in a lot of states, you don't even have to physically hand it to them. You can present it. Go and look up these videos. You will see people, they just roll up their windows, they keep their doors locked, and they hold up their documents to the window so the cops will see. That's all the law requires you to do. So that's just a sidebar, man. Know your rights, know how to deal with cops. But yeah, I have no indication or inclination whatsoever that that was just a normal traffic stop. The cops seem to be fishing more than cops usually do when they stop citizens for traffic violations, man. As it pertains to the minute mark that I got to, and I want to watch it a little bit more and come back and finish this video and talk about, you know, my ideas of Bryan's, you know, behavior, body language, et cetera, in court. Bryan himself, his demeanor, everything about him during that traffic stop, up until the minute mark that I got to, for me, it gave no indication whatsoever whether Bryan was guilty or had just committed murders or did not. I mean, it really did not. Like, people do horrendous things all of the time, and then they have the most normal behavior afterwards. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that to say that, once again, I think he was guilty or had just committed murders or was a part of it. I'm just saying that nothing I seen up until the minute mark that I watched was an indicator right or left, wrong or right. You know what I mean? Guilty or innocent. It just seemed to be a man, you know, responding to a traffic stop. And his responses could have been that of an innocent man or that of a guilty man. But my conclusion, I'm going to watch it more, like I said, and finish it all with it. My conclusion right now, that traffic stop, that they definitely were already on to him. Once again, I don't know if the law enforcement officers have admitted that that was the case. I think I seen hints somewhere that they did or they didn't, and they did. And then they came back and, you know, took that admission back. I don't know, you know what I mean? But that's neither here nor there for me, because it couldn't have been more clear to me that they were fishing, that they stopped that man for other reasons than just a simple traffic stop. So I am going to go back and watch it. Then, Lord, we're going to come back and finish the video, man. But just remember that the intent and the point of this video is just, I wanted to talk about and mentally examine, without being overly accusatory, Bryan's behavior, his demeanor. You know what I mean? How he appears. Is he a stoic, emotionless man, or is he a man that's caught in the, you know, a deer caught in headlights, and so therefore he can't be who he wants to be and who he is based on the accusations? Because no matter what he does, you know, the media and the general public, you know, of Bryanators, that is, will take it and you know, attribute it to him being guilty of these crimes. So let me handle my business, man. We're gonna come back and finish the video. Innocent until I'm back. It's a few hours later. I just finished watching the full body cam footage. It's a lot to digest, and I don't even want to stay here too long because I'm more so talking about Bryan's, body language, demeanor, et cetera, and what that is or isn't saying. And so I don't want to get stuck on the body cam footage, and I know a lot of people have gone over it. So let me just briefly talk about some things that stuck out. So we got stopped once, and the officer told him he's following me too closely. Me personally, I could clearly hear that conversation. I've already stated, there's nothing conclusive there for me to say whether Bryan looked guilty or acted guilty or innocent, et cetera, et cetera. It's just up in the air, man. Anybody can make anything look like anything. The second one, Bryan and his dad wasn't even on the camera. That one right there has me more like, okay, let me think. Because the officer didn't even seem to know, that they had already been pulled over. And I'm thinking that, the first stop was definitely organized, it was set up like that. I'm thinking, I don't have any proof of this. But then I'm just wondering if the second officer is just a very good actor or if that was just a random stop, So it is ironic that they would get stopped for one thing and then turn around and do the same thing. Commit the same traffic offense. Like at a point in my life, I was a heavy speeder and I got so many tickets per year. But it never failed that every time after I got stopped, it would be like a couple of months before I just was driving recklessly with the speed again. Like that stop right there stopped me from speeding for a long time. Definitely, I didn't just get stopped for speeding and go right back to speeding. So it is kind of puzzling to me that they got stopped for one thing and then got pulled over again it sounded like the exact same thing. I don't know. Maybe it was something different because, like I said, I couldn't hear the audio. But the thing that stuck out to me most is, and I meant to look at this before I came on here. Let me stop and go look at this real quick. Yeah, so I wanted to see what the reports of him cleaning his car out are. And I really can't take them at anything but face value because the reports are saying that he was seen cleaning the outside, the interior and exterior of his car, very well. It's just a report. For me personally, I would have to see results of that because what is very well? Some people could consider running it through one of those automated car washes and then vacuuming it later very well. I don't know. I would have to see that. It's too much context missing there for me. But with all of this talk about him being a germaphobe, maybe I'm wrong for that because I took that at face value too. I'm hearing people talk about him wearing gloves to take his trash out, and I relate to all those type of things. Maybe he was wearing gloves in his house. For me, now I'm thinking about that, it goes back to him cleaning his car, exterior and exterior, air quotes, very well. I need to see proof of these things. But I guess there are other things in his life that do coincide with the fact that he was like what you guys know as a germaphobe, OCD or whatever. But I'm just a little puzzled there, guys. I'm sitting in my vehicle right now. I'm getting ready to head home. My car needs to be washed right now, and part of the washing will be cleaning the interior of it. But in all my days of having a dirty vehicle, my vehicle has never looked like Bryan's looked, on the outside. Now, I've had multiple vehicles before, and then when I wasn't driving one through the weather conditions, it did get a little dusty and dirty. In Savannah, Georgia, we have pollen, so pollen would gather on it, and then at patches it would be washed off, and at patches it wouldn't be. But Bryan's car was filthy. For me, and me being that type of person as well, it just doesn't jive well with me that he would be a germaphobe, or once again, I say what you guys know and call it germaphobe, and OCD, and to be driving around in that filthy of a vehicle. That vehicle was filthy. Absolutely filthy. Damn it, it seemed like it was so dirty, rain would wash some of that dirt off. I don't know the weather conditions in Indiana, Idaho, that area of the country. But that definitely raised some questions for me. And then for him to be cleaning it at all, later, I don't know. That could be, due to several different things. Maybe he was too busy at school, and now that he was away, he had time. I'm not making any accusations there. I don't know. It just raises questions. But let me just get back to the court and what we see of Bryan himself. Forget the car, forget the stops and everything. I just wanted to talk about Bryan's demeanor because I have a lot in common with this guy. And I've never said that I think he's absolutely guilty or that he's absolutely innocent. I've never said that about the roommates or anyone else. I absolutely think law enforcement, if not all of them, definitely local, and the FBI are involved in this case in some type of extracurricular way that implicates them. I do. That's what I believe. But as far as Bryan and the roommates, you know, I can only speculate, man. And when I think about Bryan, man, people talk about his self-control. People mention several things. Let me just try to get into that. That has kind of been one of my things with him, man. I look at him and I see someone who is, I would say it straightforwardly, I think the man is very possibly and probably a damn genius, guys. I really do. And I've been feeling like this and saying this from the beginning of the case. But you may or may not have heard me say this about the man. Like him, man, not any of the accusations. It's just him. I'm a man, right? And I don't think this is gender exclusive. If you're a person who can just sit back and put your biases to the side, or even include your biases but not be tranquilized by them, I think you can look at certain things and read them. And that's how I see Bryan. Like, I don't have the accusations aside. You know what I mean? The accusations aside, watching Bryan makes me curious. It makes me curious because you don't see, especially in this generation of people, a lot of people who could display the demeanor and the character that he's displaying under the pressure and the situation that he's facing. And someone said on Twitter, you know, they think he's just following the instructions of his attorney to be quiet and not say much and not display much. When you couple that with the very real fact that, you know, the media is taking everything that this man does and using it against him to paint the picture that he's guilty to the public, I get that. But my response to that also was that, yeah, but he's just a little too natural with it for me. His self-control, his stoicness, you know what I mean? His lack of, what is the word I'm looking for here? His lack of expressive emotion. I mean, obvious, blatant emotion doesn't seem to me to be something that he just picked up from instruction. He fell too fluidly into it for me. I don't think you can just pick that up, you know what I mean, on the fly because something happens. Now, I'm speculating here. This is all my opinions, but this is what I see when I watch this man. I think this emotion part is where I lose some people because you guys are hearing me say that I'm expecting him to be extremely sad, angry, happy, etc., etc. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. Emotion and also communication is displayed in many different ways, man. The way that you might flick some hair off of your shoulders, the way you might, you know, just touch your glasses to adjust them on your face, the way you might run your hands through your hair. All of those non-verbal signs communicate things. And so when I'm saying express emotion, that's what I'm talking about. And that's what I mean by him just him expressing emotion versus him just sitting there stoically. There's a difference in the person that's involved in a situation, regardless of how they're involving themselves, versus a person that's just sitting there or standing there, you know, almost like a statue. Now, I'm not saying that he's doing either or. I'm saying at times he's seemingly doing both. So I definitely needed to say that because I'm losing some people when I say I'm not saying emotion. You're expecting something extreme. You're expecting something easily identifiable. And sometimes it's simply very minute things that you'll miss if you're not paying attention or even if you blink. So don't get lost when I say emotions. Think, you know what I mean? Respectfully, use your mind to think. Don't just get lost in whatever, including your biases. And so when I think about this amount of self-control and emotional control, some people will look at it and say, you know, that's a good thing. I look at it and realize that is, you know, that could be used to commit these crimes and get away with them and plan them or be part of them. You know what I mean? That type of self-control is exactly what you would need, you know what I mean, to commit these crimes and get away under the circumstances that we've heard. Now, someone else mentioned, well, if he's such a genius, then why did he leave the knife sheath there? And I told them something that my mom used to say to me all the time, and I'm not saying this as for you guys to think of my mom as a bad parent. I don't think she was a bad parent in this regard at all. I think she was just observing and telling the truth. She used to tell me all the time that I was intellectually genius. That's what I mean. As a kid, everybody, I was in all the smart classes coming up. There was me and one young girl from elementary school on up. We were always the intellectual champions of our school. We would always be battling each other to see who was the smartest. And my mom would say, you are one of the smartest persons I know intellectually. But no, she would tell me, but she would tell other people too. He's one of the smartest people I know intellectually, but he has no common sense. And I'm saying that to say genius and perfect are not absolutely synonymous, guys. So he can be a total genius and still be an idiot in certain capacities. That's just a realization of the situation. You say realization, reality, Negro. Now, I have to reiterate, I'm not accusing Bryan of anything because I don't know he's guilty of anything, but I just look at him and his stoic nature, his sometimes his lack of emotion. Going back to the stop when I could see him on camera, I do recognize that he pretty much had the same demeanor then. Even though he was responsive to the officer, he was talking, with his father to the officer. There wasn't very much emotion there. I have to say these things, man, and drive him home. I'm not saying that makes the man a bad guy. Because when you take the character of the young man that I seen in the vehicle talking to the officer with his father, and you place him on trial and in a courtroom facing 4 charges of murder and the death penalty, I promise you, I could see myself behaving much like Bryan behaves. And that just comes from, hey, man, y'all think I'm guilty already. Anything I do just further drives home the point that y'all think I'm guilty, and y'all are going to take that and run with it. Couple that with the fact that my attorney is telling me to, pipe down and not say or do much because y'all taking everything and making it look like that means I'm guilty. I would have that same demeanor, kind of like, you know what, y'all can kiss my ass because y'all already think I'm guilty anyway, and I can't do anything to convince you otherwise. And also, I'm being counseled by my legal authority to just chill and not say much, man. It's all very puzzling to me. I just can't look at Bryan and his demeanor and the way he displays and doesn't display emotion and say, oh, it's all because of what's going on and he's under high stress and no, guys, I can't do that. Like I said, it's too natural to me. I'm going back and I'm looking at the body cam footage when he was stopped. He was like that then. But I also can't look at that and say he's absolutely guilty because I'm the same way. If I don't know you, you could easily misinterpret me as a very cold person in person, in 3D, you know what I mean, in 4K, whatever we're going to call it, because I really just don't give a damn how you feel because I'm cognizant of the fact that most people don't give a damn how I feel. So why do I have to be going way out of my way to present a certain character to you to convince you that I'm not this asshole or whoever you may already think I am? I'm going to be me. If I happen to be smiling that day, if I happen to be upset that day, if I happen to be sad that day, that's what you're going to get. And that could very easily be misconstrued as me being an asshole or me being cold-hearted. But if you actually know me, then you know I'm a very laid-back, kind, polite person who likes to joke and have fun, man, and just make sure I'm respecting everybody and everybody's respecting me. So it's easy to misconstrue and misinterpret all of these things on either side of the coin, and that's what I'm trying not to do here while speaking honestly about the man that I'm saying before me. You know what I mean? If Bryan is a genius, he would be considering all of these things. Something else I was saying to a person on Twitter, man, I literally said, don't mislabel what I'm saying right here. I can outthink every person, almost every, if not every person in every room I've been in since I was a child. Like, I outthink them easily. And it's not because I'm smarter than people that I'm around. It's because the average person doesn't even want to think. We just live in a world of people who are too comfortable being told what to think, being told what to do, being told what to like, being told what not to dislike. People don't like to be free thinkers and have to exercise their brains. So when you are a person who actually thinks for yourself and exercises your brain, it's not hard to outthink those people because they're leaving out so many elements of thought that need to be considered in whatever situation you find yourself. And you're thinking about those things. You're considering those things. So it's not hard at all to be a genius, air quotes, in those circumstances. And if Bryan is the genius that he very well possibly may be, it wouldn't be hard for him he would already have these things in mind. He would be considering them, you know what I mean, beforehand, like he's playing chess. He would be 4 or 5 moves ahead, you know what I mean. He would be knowing, hey, people are expecting this from me, so let me play into it and display this or not display this or display that and not display that. He would be working this out as he goes, you know what I mean. It's not unthinkable, guys. I know some of you, the reason I'm hammering this home, because I know some of you are convinced that Bryan is innocent. I'm not. It's not hard for me to look at that man and see someone capable of that much poise and that much self-control under such intense pressure being capable of committing 4 murders and, getting away with the context of these crimes that we have. But it's also not hard for me to see him just adapting with like his personality already being what it is, not easily moved like mine is. I'm not easily moved whether things are great or exceedingly or whether things are bad exceedingly. I'm not easily moved. You know what I mean? The only thing that moves me exceedingly is Jesus Christ. I'm just being honest with you guys. So when you have that type of personality, it doesn't matter what circumstance you find yourself in, you're going to adapt. And especially, like I said, if you're knowing you're in a legal circumstance, you're facing litigation, I already don't, you know what I mean, get hyper excited either way. And now is not the time for me to be doing that. So that could be, you know what I mean, what's coming into play here too. I don't know. I just don't know either way, because I have seen times in court where you did see his personality, you did see his emotions, you did see his smile and whatever come through. And sometimes he let it flow, but then at other times he would catch himself and then he would go back to stoicness. And for me, I'm assuming that that's because he's thinking about how the media is going to play that to the public. You know what I mean? So I don't know, guys. You know, tell me what you think. Is Bryan just a cold-hearted, emotionless person? Or is he someone that's just adapting to the situation that he's been put in? People answer that question based on what they would do in that situation. I'm going to kindly say, if that's how you think, then you're being one of those people that's like, you know, you're being a puppet. You're not thinking of a lot of things that need to be thought of, namely the fact that everybody isn't you. So what you would do in any particular situation isn't the textbook for what everybody else should or would do. And also, I said this in my last few videos, there are situations where I've been in, and so I can say, all right, well, this is what I think I would do if I was in this situation based on the fact that I've been there before and this is what I did. But I'm also honest, like, things have changed, time has changed, my age has changed, my mentality and mindset is shifted, if not totally changed, because, you know, life has happened, you know what I mean, and shaped different thoughts in my head. So even in a similar situation that I've encountered before, I may behave totally different. Though that's what I mean when I say, you know, you're in a room full of people and it's easy to outthink them, because and most people, they would just rest on the fact that, nah, I've been there before, so I know what I do because this is what I did last time. That's not an absolute, guys. It's not an absolute. Even if that happened yesterday and this is happening today, just the context of the days changing. Like, think about it. You're human, right? You have different moods from day to day. Don't you go to work in one mood one day, and the next day you have a totally different mood sometimes? Don't you feel different at work on Monday than you do on Tuesday sometimes? Don't you feel different early in the morning at work than you do later on in the evening at work? So something that could happen in the morning at work, you would respond to it, and it would affect you totally different than it would if it happened in the evening, right? That's what I mean when I say it's not hard to outthink people. It doesn't make you smarter or make you a genius. It just makes you somebody that's actually stopping to consider everything that needs to be considered versus people who are just caught up in their biases, you know what I mean, in their narratives that they want to believe. So just don't be one of those people. So when you think about that question, is Bryan this or is he that? You can't solely base it on what you would do, if you can base it on that at all. I'm not looking at anything I would do aside from the fact that when I look at this man, I see so many commonalities. That's why I'm kind of puzzled by all this talk about him being what you guys call OCD and the germaphobe, or riding around in that filthy car. I mean, unless God made me, life is just that difficult, I would never. You know, I don't understand it. But I'm not him, so, and plus I don't know all the context of that situation. And like Aaron said, I don't know him well enough to jump out of the window and say why that was the case with him and his vehicle. But I do know with the commonalities that we have, when I see this man, I'm watching him. I'm not listening to what anybody's accusing him of. I'm not listening to what anybody said. I don't care about the people who talk good about him that knew him. I don't care about the people that talk bad about him that knew him. I'm not tuning all that out, but I'm tuning all that out in certain instances to say, nah, I just want to gather my information from the man himself and then conclude from there. And from that conclusion, I just don't know. And someone said on Twitter, like, he hasn't said anything. Well, maybe you're just the type of person that needs communication verbalized. I'm not that type of person, guys. Once again, I'm not thinking in that small, confined box. I don't need you to say anything. All of that matters, but communication takes many forms. It takes many shapes. And I can sit back and you don't have to say a word, and you not saying a word communicates things to me. I've said that over and over again. And so that's how I assess Bryan. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at how he's walking. I'm looking at how he's smiling. He's not smiling. How his eyes are looking and are darting from this to that. You know what I mean? How he's responding to what people are saying in the courtroom, or how he's not responding. Like, is he sitting there relaxed, or is he sitting there tensed? And if he's sitting there relaxed, is it because he has a callous attitude and he's a cold-hearted killer and he doesn't care? Or is he sitting there relaxed because he's resigned to the fact that, hey, me sitting here all tense ain't gonna change nothing anyway? And if he's sitting there tense, is it because he's nervous, thinking that they finally found out something that can absolutely tie him to these crimes? Or is he sitting there tense because, hey man, you know what? No matter what they find, even if they find that I'm innocent, they very well still may convict me of these crimes. Nothing absolutely means anything unless you can factually point to something. And in most of these situations and these, you know, conclusions that we're drawing, we can't factually point to anything. We're all just drawing opinions here, which I have no problem with. I just think we need to do them fairly and rationally. And so that's why I'm asking this question again for the billionth time in this video. What does this man's character and demeanor say to you? Not to your biases, not to your preconceived notions, but to you about this man and his potential involvement or innocence where it pertains to this crime. For me, it just leaves me in a blank space of saying, I don't know, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm watching him and I'm knowing that his demeanor could come from many, many different avenues. And one of them could absolutely be that he committed these crimes. And the man is a damn genius. Innocent until. Y'all be safe.